Welcome everybody to Self-Storage Income. And today we are now back from the event, and the event was absolutely incredible. We want to talk about, we were, in a room with operators and people getting into the business, as well as lots of third parties that are in the business of storage, not just the owning of the self-storage assets. And the conversations were incredible, and the presentations, and it's like having your fingers on the pulse of the market, because you're getting that real-time feedback from lots of people that are actually doing. This isn't data that's it's coming in and we're trying to interpret it. This is what we're seeing on the ground. This is what's happening, and so I love these events. Now, over the next few podcasts, guys, we have lots of interviews. We grabbed operators, first-time operators, large operators at the event. We did podcasts with them. So one of the best things about it was a great opportunity for us to get a lot of people, and that content that you guys are going to be hearing coming up on the podcast, it's awesome. I think we have,
it really is.
I mean, guys that just bought their first facility to other ones that have 30 plus facilities, and what they're doing, what they're seeing, and how they're doing it. So I'm really, really excited about it. But overall, what were your takeaways, Connor, from the event, and what were you hearing? What was kind of the sentiment, do you feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like you said, phenomenal event, being able to get in these rooms, rub elbows with just people in all different markets, all different stages, talking about, like you said, what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. Again, it's almost like a support group, right?
Yeah.
Like you're going there like, hey, am I crazy, or are we actually seeing what is going on? No, biggest takeaways really was the connections. And for me, like going and meeting some of these other operators, again, whether they're just getting started or they've been in the industry for 15, 20, 30 years. We had an attendee there that's been in the industry for a really long time. And just being able to meet with them, connect with them on a multitude of levels, figure out who's using what tech stacks, how they're plugging in their technologies, the new systems. Obviously, we've talked a lot about remote management and how the industry is moving more and more towards remote management in a lot of different areas and a lot of different markets. But really, my biggest takeaway was that connection, being able to get in those rooms, talk to those people, see what's going on in the markets, see what's going on operationally speaking, how they're handling this new competitive environment that we're in, how they're managing that customer acquisitions process, how they're managing rent raises, how they're managing just day-to-day operations, whether they are remote or they're staffed. It's just really good to see that mix of what's working for certain people in certain markets with certain assets, and vice versa. So that was a huge takeaway. Being able to just get in and massage those relationships. Again, we're long-term people with long-term players in the game, and not only thinking about that event and what's going on today and this year, last year, being able to build those relationships long in the future to where, whether it's deal flow, whether it's partnerships, whether it's new technologies, you're building those relationships to be able to capitalize on opportunities and lay the foundations for those in the future. That was another big takeaway for me. And like you said, seeing these people that we've known for several years at this point, now just getting their first facilities, buying, owning, operating, investing in, all of that. It's amazing to see the growth of those individuals and their companies and their teams. It's amazing. Another huge takeaway, freaking love Pace, man.
Yeah, Pace is great.
Was such a phenomenal speaker at the event, talking all things. I've got a good sheet of notes I took from his talk just on creative finance and him building his teams and what that all looked like and how he approached so many different things and manages his companies and
we're actually putting that on here. So the podcasts we were talking about earlier with guests, right? Those weren't like on stage stuff. Those were actual podcasts we did. What we did with Pace is we did a on stage live podcast, and that's what Connor's talking about. It was and two, it wasn't even necessarily about one thing, but it was a lot about him building his company, scaling, and behind the scenes in how he's running 300 employees, how he got to that point, what he's doing, how he manages and operates. It was a phenomenal podcast.
No, it really was. The other big important thing, whether it's this event or other events, taken away, again, relationship building, vendors, contractors, being able to connect with those individuals and refine processes. There's a number of different vendors and people that we use in our tech stack and operations, day to day, and being able to connect the technologies and the owners of the technologies that we're using with some of these, third-party service providers that we utilize. Just absolute total value there. And we've actually got some follow-up meetings scheduled to continue refining our processes through customer acquisitions and other aspects of just operations. So a lot of value in just getting there, having conversations, consolidating touch points, getting meetings, just being able to get a lot of productive things done just in a few days.
Yeah, it's really interesting to get those feedback and then be able to dive in deeper. We talked with a lot of people on different effects of certain marketing and certain tech stacks that they're using and how they're going to automation, so that fill-in process and what they're seeing. I think it's everybody is seeing obviously the drop-off and that return back to pretty much normal, but it is not evenly spread. Right. And that's, of course, what we see in our portfolio. There are some markets that were hit harder than others. And there's a lot of competition for rates. And we talked a lot about the dropping of rates enticing that capture point for that potential tenant and how that all looks and works. A lot of people focusing on things like insurance and cutting costs and management styles. We talked a lot about, there was a lot of discussion, I feel like, people on that acquisition front, which people are buying. And I think one of the biggest things that I noticed was it's almost like the bigger you are is like you've seen more of the drop off on acquisitions. Obviously, we have to buy more. And so portfolio acquisitions tend to be down big and volume transactions tend to be big. But the people that are more smaller or mid, they're buying a handful, they're still buying. They're still finding the opportunities, which makes sense because we're still finding the opportunities and buying, just not at the volume we are. And they are talking about financing and making those deals work, which they are able to do. I think a lot of people use these blanket statements like, well, you just can't find a deal today. And that is simply not true. We're finding deals. They're finding deals. We're getting deals done. Now, are we doing nearly at the volume that we want? No. Overall rental rate increases and how that's working as people are in stabilization mode. We had a lot of discussions with that on people, around people, and they talk about things that they've implemented and done and what's worked. Price has been a recurring theme, that it's sticky, or not that it's sticky, it's that customers are sensitive to those price points coming in. That seems to be kind of a universal thing right now. Bigger units tend to be harder because of the overall cost, even though smaller units are a higher price per square foot. And I think there was, I'm trying to remember here too, I not a huge amount of discussion around development.
No, I honestly, there wasn't anybody that I talked to outside of developers that were talking about building, expanding, doing any of that at all. It was mostly centered around, like you said, the operations, getting back to basics, customer service, revenue management, and how to stay and remain competitive. And also, that acquisition side, how the financing, lending side of things, and I think it was fantastic having Pace there to talk about creative finance, because there is right now valuations and expectations, those types of things aren't totally in alignment. So there was a lot of discussion about utilizing creative finance to be able to maybe the seller doesn't get their terms, but maybe they get the price they wanted, or vice versa.
I did a podcast with Chris Voss, and that was on the Saving Capitalism podcast. You guys can check that out. But for those that don't know who Chris Voss is, he is the FBI negotiator that worked in counterterrorism and negotiating in hostage situations. And he went in to help businesses and negotiate deals. And he created a company that does that. Phenomenal. The guy's incredible. He has a
huge fan.
Yeah, he's got multiple
so
books
awesome,
out,
man.
and Chris Voss has got a. He's on, the master class thing where they have a whole array of like people on that master class website or whatnot. Out of all of these people, which I think there's like Chris Jenner on it and all these other really super famous, he is by far the largest seller on that entire platform. This hostage negotiator guy. He's the number one seller. And so we had a great conversation on negotiating, right? And it was interesting because I was talking to him a lot about sellers and negotiating with sellers, right? And how to do it right. And I think a lot of the stuff that we've talked about a long time on this podcast is very applicable on how to approach sellers and the right way to go about it. And that was another reoccurring theme that I saw was the negotiation tactics that were working and not working with sellers. And it goes very much back to a lot of things we've talked about. It's a much more personal time. Mm-hmm. People are making decisions predicated on their relationships, contacts, and it makes sense because if I'm not getting price, so the driving factor previously for the last 3 years has been who will pay the most. Now I can't get that, right? I can't get that price. So then I need to sell or I want to sell. Then what is going to be the driving factor if I'm not going to have a bidding war and it's just going to go up? Okay, well then it's going to be the person that I want to sell it to. Mm-hmm. So how do you put yourself in a position? So go check out that podcast. We can put the link below so everybody can check that out. And we talked a lot about that. But that was something that was a reoccurring theme I felt at the event. Was it people talking about, I got this deal done with this seller, right? I went, built a relationship with them. I made the initial connection. Oh, we have a great podcast coming up that you guys are going to love. He bought 30 facilities. And he basically drove around and met these owners. He's like, AJ, I did exactly what you told me to. Everything else, he's like, I went around. He bought like 30 facilities in 2 years. It's something crazy. So anyways, that's coming up here in the next few podcasts. You guys got to listen to that. But that, once again, that was the thing that was working. I mean, he bought, we had two people that bought facilities at the event. They literally closed at the event, and they got notary signs and stuff done. And both of those people at the event that were doing it, they were in our inner circle. They had no previous storage experience, right? And they were both buying their third, fourth facility. And the other one was the guy was mentioned buying his, however many it was, over 20, 30 or whatever it was. Can't even remember now because there's so many.
So awesome.
But in literally a short period of time. So they're out doing these things and closing these deals. And that was amazing to see. Like these things that we talk about in practice and saying, okay, I know that we do things like this internally, but we share it. Is it a repeatable strategy? And it was actually in works there. So, we were sitting on our first day, which was the inner circle day, which was separate from the event. And all these people like, oh, got one under contract. We're buying one. This is how we financed it. This is how we structured it. Because those strategies are actually succeeding in these times. And so everybody, when you look at the market today, it was very clear that although the market is tough in comparison, we're returning to this new normal, right? It's not going to be overheated and crazy. So operations, realigning expectations, underwriting, making sure you're not overpaying, but deals are getting done. And I think that the deals that are getting done in the next year will be the best deals that many people will see in, maybe their career. It's, these periods don't last very long.
Mm-hmm.
These market inefficiencies, they, by not last very long, let me make sure I'm clear by this. A lot of people are just like, oh, I'm going to wait because I'm sure next quarter. I'm talking years here. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm talking like don't last very long. Like they only last 3 years. So yeah, that's, I'm not talking months here, but in the actual big picture, that's not very long. Mm-hmm. You're talking about like 3 years to find amazing deals that owners are willing to sell at and do seller financing at prices that in ordinary market cycles they won't do. These are deals that make you, right? These are deals that you can do, and one deal is the total changer. And so that's why I get excited about, different market cycles and the cycle that we're in, and excited about these people that are actually doing it and getting it done. But the other thing is that I think I took away was it's just more work. Universally, right? It's just not as easy as it used to be, which it was never supposed to be that easy.
Right,
and that's what people got to understand. Everybody was like, yeah, we didn't have to do anything. Revenue management, we didn't have to do anything because it was just, we were 100% full and we just raised prices, right? It was like, yeah, brokers had deals everywhere. The money was so easy. Everybody wanted to invest. I could get money easily. That is not normal. So those times, which are stupid, are gone. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, like you said, man, it's just so much, whether it's you negotiating and talking to sellers or potential tenants and providing customer service, so much of what we're seeing is just that shift back to providing service, building relationships, the fundamentals that made and make good businesses good and great. So I think that's just one of those things. Again, it just we're going back to the basics. We're not the dumb money's gone, the dumb stuff is gone. Where it's just revenues, values keep going up, occupancies keep going up. We're going back to that normal, like we've been talking about for a long time at this point. And it really just is that relationship building at a new level. Where again, it's just getting back to that heart of what service is, and building relationships with people as human beings,
Yes.
And again, whether you're acquiring facilities, whether you're going out talking to sellers, talking to banks, talking to contractors, talking to tenants that are coming into your facility, whatever it is, it's just, that is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, they feel like the market sentiment's down and everything. That wasn't the case there. Mm-hmm. It was not
people were moving.
Yeah, it wasn't a doom and gloom. It wasn't no. They're like, we're doing good. We're doing great. Return to the basics. That's fine. We're buying deals. I was almost a little surprised. I was wondering if we were going to get there, and people were like, oh, we're either really concerned or, and that wasn't the market sentiment. It just wasn't.
No.
People weren't like, this is bad. No, it was an understanding that high interest rates make certain things difficult. And it's not crazy, but it was not at all doom and gloom. No, people were moving. Mm-hmm. And that was awesome to see. I really loved that. And even the vendors, nope, they were excited. They were excited about the business. You just have so many people that are pushing and moving forward. Mm-hmm. And the thing I love about that is those are the people that are going to be in it in 10 years. Mm-hmm. Those are the people that we build these connections with, because they're not waiting for things to either be perfect, and they're making moves and it'll pay off.
Mm-hmm. No, you're exactly right. And it's awesome to see everybody coming together and still continuing to move and push forward despite, we even talked in one of the presentations you guys did about this sentiment, this uneducated and uninformed sentiment that may be out there with some talking heads and different, media outlets and those things, because they see, street rates are dropping, or this is happening, or transaction volume's down, and it's all doom and gloom. But if you're actually in it, I think this is another really good, important distinction and takeaway from the event, is not just blindly trusting what you're seeing, the talking heads saying, going and talking to and connecting with people like we've talked about over and over again, that are out there, that are doing it, that are succeeding at it. I think you made a really good point, AJ, that it wasn't doom and gloom at all. Like you said, we had people there closing deals, making connections. A lot of the vendors are more busy than they've ever been. This market, storage, it's going to continue to grow. It's a growing industry, and it's not slowing down. That market consolidation's another aspect that's a huge threat to a lot of people that are just wanting to get in and find those good deals. To your point about, the next, few years, the short window that we have. I mean, absolutely critical. Like, get in now.
Yes. 100%. And all of you that own an asset or two and are sitting there thinking, oh, should I expand? And for all our listeners that I know a lot are in store local, as well as others that are very large operators and things that listen to this podcast. This is a differentiating point, and those people, they are using it to their advantage. So large operators, mid-size, and people starting out, the people that get it, some of the noise has been reduced, which is good for you, all of you, big operators, medium operators, right? So all of that was just really, really good to see in firsthand, not just on reports or numbers, but firsthand, the excitement and what's going on. We talked I think the persistent problems, which we will continue to tackle, obviously, on financing and the headwinds of competition. We really looked at it, and it's not necessarily that the playbook has changed so much, but the strategies that you need to focus on and look at have. We had a meeting with our acquisition team yesterday in the office, and after the event, we were all bringing back a whole bunch of information. We had a whole bunch of new market data, and the question that we all had was, are there adjustments that we need to make on our acquisition strategy and our underwriting? And the answer was yes. The market's changing. We need to change. And so you need to be nimble, and this is a time to be nimble and not to be stuck in expectations. Don't be stuck in the way you think it should be. Really, we're in a market where you make the deal.
Exactly right.
And that's what the people that are succeeding and succeeding massively are doing. They're making the deals, and they're not waiting around, and they're not just, hanging out waiting for somebody to bring a deal to them, or just look at the numbers and say, oh, well, this won't even make sense. I'm not even going to call. I mean, everything is not going for what it was priced at, and sellers are doing different stuff. So get out there, guys, and make the deals work, and you're going to grow and grow a lot. As far as operations go, we've had a couple podcasts in the last few that were really based on operations. We also have a couple new YouTubes out that are based on operations. We're going to do more of that as we look at people. That's a new growing theme, as people don't have 96% occupancy. All of a sudden, they actually care about running the facility. And even if they had a third-party manager, right? So even if you're not doing it yourself, third-party management, then people go, are they doing a good job? Are they not? What should they be doing? What questions should I ask? Hitting on a lot of that, everybody. We're really diving into what's working and what's not. There's a few operational presentations that were really good. We'll probably throw those up on the YouTube as well, so you guys can go check that out. Make sure you subscribe. All in all, everybody, though, for those of you that were there, it was incredible to see you. Fireworks play, the meals were awesome. The networking was amazing. For those of you that weren't, we will have it again, and we'll try to get a lot of that information up so you guys can see it, so that you guys can learn from it, because some of the stuff that was presented, I was just like, wow, this made my year. The ideas that I took away were literally, we came back and I was talking with George and some other, I'm like, oh, we're doing this. And we figured out ways that we can really move our business forward. So I hope we can put out some information. You guys can have that too.
Yeah, no, all great points, and a huge shout out to, you talked about George a little bit. And I mean, just the team in general.
Oh, geez.
For putting together such an incredible and valuable, truly life-changing event for people to come together and, like you said, grow their businesses, improve their lives. For them, their families. It's amazing to see. So a huge shout out to our team here for organizing these things and making this an absolute just rock star event and a possibility in general. So yeah, stay tuned. A lot of good stuff coming out, YouTube wise, podcast wise. We got a lot of good content, a lot of good content. So I'm excited about it. With that said, what else you got?
That's it. Everybody, make sure you go subscribe, check it out, and watch out for these. I gotta reiterate again the amount of incredible content. I think 5 different operators, 2 that just started in the last 6 months, and one's already got like 4 deals. These you guys are going to see them. They're coming out every single week. These were incredible interviews. We had the other one with people that have just tons of facilities and how they've scaled. Really, really good stuff, everybody. So we've put a lot of effort into it. Please, guys, leave us a 5-star review and leave that review, share it, comment. That is really how you guys can help us as we're trying to get this content to you. That tells everybody you like it. That tells us you like it, and we put more effort into it. So help us out, and we appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. When you guys are looking at property management software for your storage facilities, there's a ton of options out there, but no other option compares to Tenant Inc. Tenant Inc. is going to be your one-stop shop solution that has an amazing amount of tools that you can deploy at your fingertips to maximize the value of your facility, to operate it more efficiently, more effectively. They have an open API where you can back in almost anything you want. You own your data, and it's just an incredible solution. I can't say enough good things about these guys. Link is in the show notes. Be sure to check out Tenant Inc.